on today's episode, we're going to talk with Ulysses Garcia about the value of time. He's a content creator, filmmaker, currently 20 years old. Hey, Uli, do you want to give a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Ulysses Garcia. I'm a content creator slash filmmaker. I'm from Placerville, California, but I'm based in Sacramento, do all my work there, and 20 years old, and just grinding it out and learning as much as possible.
Cool. Do you have a quick long-term goal that you'd want to share with everybody?
Long-term goal, I don't know. I think right now I feel like I'm at an age where I'm just trying different things out.
Mm-hmm.
And trying different and knowing what I want to do, and then building that. So I think it can be anything. I just started the podcast, so definitely building that up is definitely a long-term goal, and then working on documentaries is something.
Okay, cool. So let's kind of just jump into it. As a human being alive for 20 years so far, how do you value time?
I value time as something super important. There's definitely days where you procrastinate, or you don't really value time at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I think after having so many of those days, you begin to realize this is valuable, and especially with experiences with people.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely when they pass away, unfortunately, sometimes you realize how valuable that time is.
Yeah. Have you had many friends or family pass away yet?
Mostly when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I think I recently just had 4 family members from Mexico on my mother's side who passed away from COVID-19.
Wow. So
it just kind of
sad.
No, thank you, man. It's good. But yeah, it definitely does show you the value of time, and especially with relationships on a personal level too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's super important. It's to especially value your time, but also your relationships, because I guess that's the way I see it. Time is really something as a tool in one sense to better your relationships, to have better friendships or better relationships with a partner or something, even with your father and mother.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's super important. Have you ever thought about time before today, really?
Yeah, I have. I just read a book not too long ago, The Power of Now.
Okay.
As well as I forget what other book it was, but it was essentially blocking time off, and then organizing those blocks based off your values.
Yep.
3 to 5 different values.
Yep.
And structuring your week, your day based off that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, really using time as this grid, and being able to optimize your schedule and your energy and all of that. What did you what did you learn from that book that was most useful, not just in terms of scheduling, but I guess more on the spiritual side of things?
I think it was more just being present, really practicing, that mindfulness, and because a way that I look at things is, if you're anxious, you're very too far ahead. If you're depressed, you're behind.
Yep.
So not being stuck in either of those worlds, really coming, to the now.
Yep.
And really, I think doing that, it enhances, the whole experience of being.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. If arguably one of the most important things to be able to do is to be present, and to literally live now and experience the things that are happening now. Because past and future mostly exist just in your mind. They don't exist out there in the tangible world.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to be present because our mind is so undisciplined, and we're so easily taken to the past or the future. And if you're at work and it's not the most engaging job ever, it's easy to think about your vacation in Hawaii in 2 weeks rather than being present at work and doing whatever it is you need to be doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that ability is vital to happiness, to good relationships, just being able to be there with somebody.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's it, for no other reason, just to be there, because that's all you got, really. It's just that,
emotionally, you just you're very balanced, you know, and you're more productive, and you very much so begin to appreciate and, you know, the experiences. Even the simplest experience, right? Because you really are enveloped in that, you know, when it does happen, when something simple like playing basketball or playing soccer, just the simplest things.
For me, it's been lately, it's just like the warmth of the sunlight, you know, just like standing outside and the fall weather has changed, and just being able to like feel the sun on my skin. That is a like happy moment or happy feeling, I might say. And there's nothing extraordinary about it. And I think that's a skill, actually, is like being able to find happiness in the ordinary moments, rather than constantly searching for the extraordinary things that really come once or twice in a lifetime, or 3 or 4 times, you know? You're, in that sense, you make time your friend, because like the ordinary moments are always going to be coming with time. So if you can essentially learn how to enjoy those valuable but ordinary moments, I think as a human being, you set yourself up to live a good life.
And you almost like get lost in time, you know, quote unquote, you know, and the only way to stay organized is by time blocks. That's why I say, you know, the blocking is it's very important to me. So that's how I stay organized. Other than that, I would just, a Monday can feel like a Saturday. A Saturday can feel like a Wednesday.
I mean, even like the idea of like Monday or Saturday, or those are all kind of like, those are human concepts. Like, I mean, literally like the Gregorian calendar and all of that. So the way that you're describing is much more like intimate and engaging, where it's like, okay, I have future ahead of me and past behind me. How do I essentially make the most of those things, right? While also still being present. It's kind of like this dynamic balancing act, where you have to sometimes make time just to think about the future. Or make time to like just think about the past, and then the rest learn how to be present, kind of. Do you do that with your...
No, definitely. I think especially after, you know, trips or you know, great experiences, bad experiences, definitely important to reflect. And I think, you know, emotionally, knowing that I'm reflecting, I try not to get lost in it emotionally, and knowing that I'm planning, I try not to get anxious about it.
That's super smart, actually. And you just went to Yosemite, right? So was there any like reflection on that trip at all?
I think not on a time level, but I think, you know, just, and when I posted that picture of that I took in Yosemite, I put in the caption, it always reminds me of how small we are. Right? Like you go into Yosemite Valley. I don't know if you've been.
It's beautiful.
And you know, you see El Capitan, you see Half Dome, like you just the valley, going to the valley, it's like, wow, like we're so small. You know, and it's humbling.
Absolutely. It's like kind of like awe-inspiring as well. And for me, as someone who spent the last like 6-7 years researching and learning about time, that's kind of how I feel when I think about time in its entirety. It's like this massive thing that's so much bigger than myself or anyone really, or even all of us combined. And it kind of produces this like the same kind of feeling when you're looking at like a mountaintop, and it's just so big and so like humbling and awe-inspiring. That's kind of how time is for me. So I relate with you 100% on that. And I actually think that there's a lot of to be gained in that feeling as well, like the smallness, but like the interconnectedness of everything. I think that's super valuable. Why don't we just move on to this next question here?
Let's do it.
Which is more focused on your content creation and your filmmaking. So like from that perspective, how do you leverage time or use time or think about time as a filmmaker or content creator?
So I think once I block, you know, my schedule, you know, based off the values, kind of going more into work, I think it's another big thing was have you heard about like the urgent and not urgent,
Yep. Yeah.
important, not
Yeah.
important. So that's what I'm trying to implement.
It's from the 7 habits of like
Yes,
highly effective
exactly.
people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to implement that, see
Mhm.
how it applies in my life. And, so like going back to like how young I am, I'm
Yeah.
trying these things and
Yep.
implementing them. And if it works for me, then, I'm going to keep doing it. So that's something currently that I'm trying to do, tackle the important things
Mhm.
that aren't urgent, and, setting a specific time
Yep.
for the urgent and important things. Sometimes obviously there's like one or two things that
Yeah,
you got to
can't be
respond
perfect.
to, or
Yeah, you can't be perfect. Yeah.
but definitely doing that, and then also reducing, you know, being more focused on direction instead of, how
Mhm.
much the quantity of it.
Yeah.
I think the quality of the direction I'm going in is way more important than how
Yeah.
much I'm doing.
No, that's actually super important and wise, I would say. Especially being a 20-year-old, if you can focus on your direction in time rather than any sort of like speed, because speed is also arbitrary and made up. It's just based on the speed of light, and that is really just like an arbitrary measurement of like how far light travels,
Yeah.
or how fast it travels in a certain arbitrary distance.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of like time, direction is way more important than speed.
Yeah.
It matters where you're going, and speed isn't completely arbitrary. So that's, especially as a 20-year-old, that's really going to benefit you. As long as you're like staying alive and staying mentally healthy. By the time you're 30, you'll have gotten somewhere much further and much more positive, I think, than you would have expected if you continued to just focus on direction. Yeah, I mean, I think our culture gets caught up in speed a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
they glorify busy.
Yeah,
Being busy.
exactly. And I think that comes from our work culture, probably our social media and all of that. But it's actually kind of a toxic mentality, because it really goes against like the values that time forces you to have as a human. And one of those values is direction. Like, where am I going in time? And the one thing that we all have in common is that we're all going towards death. We're all moving towards like the probability of death.
Yeah.
Which is also why speed isn't so like important, because the only place you're 100% going with any certainty is to your own death.
Straight up.
But before that, there are other places that you can probably hit if you're lucky enough to stay alive and stay mentally healthy. So yeah, I mean, do you have a certain kind of direction that you'd want the next decade for yourself to go, like by the time you're 30?
Yeah, I think, in terms of a work sense, we were talking earlier, the podcast, something that I definitely want to build up. And with that is, learning different mindsets, different stories, different experiences, good and bad, where they messed up. Not just for me, to learn it, but like also sharing that with other people in hopes of inspiring them, or, giving them that 5 to 10 second soundbite that changes their life, or, makes a pivot in their life. That's something that's important to me.
Absolutely.
As well as documentary filmmaking, and really focusing on a storytelling aspect, and, really just changing views sometimes, with documentaries. The Social Dilemma just came out.
I just saw that.
That was monumental. So
that is a very good example. That was very telling, and the way they did it actually was very powerful, I think. Just using these people, and the production of it was super.
It was creative, but it was also effective.
Yeah, you really realize that, like, how much your smartphone is taking in all your data, and how it's influencing you based on the algorithms, and those algorithms are built on profit, not for like human experience or anything like that. And sadly, that kind of pervades other industries as well, I would say. I mean, kind of feeds back into like content creation and filmmaking, actually. How do you kind of reconcile that, like that? morality aspect of it?
I think it's more. See, that's why I want to focus on storytelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think naturally, because my whole line is I just want to make dope work with dope people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think dope work will always have a story,
Yep.
telling aspect. So I think if I can bring, not just entertainment, but positive change
Mm-hmm.
through storytelling, I think it's worth it.
Okay. Yeah, that I agree with you. Yeah. Why don't we take this in a different direction here and kind of talk about time from a biological sense? So, like, how do you work on your health, like your physical and mental health?
Mm-hmm. I think another big thing that
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember which book, but I mean there's a lot of books, right? But in
Yeah.
the recent books that I've read, movement, trying to stay moving is very healthy for you.
Yep.
So definitely incorporating. I usually just do like weightlifting and cardio every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of mental health, I think just having those sessions where it's very calm and peaceful, and I reflect or I plan or
Yep.
visualize. I think is very something that keeps me self-aware and grounded to where I currently am, and will how would I say? I think just keep me mentally stable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's super important. The reason I asked from a biological standpoint is because um, pretty much our body is just like this system of like synchronous like machines.
Mm-hmm.
And machines is probably not the right word, but systems is. And so like we have our circadian rhythm and stuff that like if you essentially can optimize that with your environment, you're going to have a better chance of having good mental and physical health and reducing like mental illnesses and things like that. Or just even adapting to the environment. So like we now have dropped, like the weather has gotten colder and
Mm-hmm.
the daylight has shrunk. So has there been any change on your like part, either in terms of like your scheduling, your behavior
Mm-hmm.
that you've noticed?
Not right now. I think, these past few days I've been, sleeping in a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I think, or just sleeping longer than I had, previously scheduled.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's maybe one of the things. I think as we go deeper into the season, I think I'll start to notice, a few things and then adjust from there. But I think as of now, nothing too dramatic or
Okay.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I guess it gets specific because like the way I leverage time for my health is like I make sure I'm waking up kind of very near like sunrise
Mm-hmm.
and like ideally trying to go to sleep near sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that's not like perfect because sunset's at like 4:00
Yeah.
p.m. But yeah, I mean, I know that like looking at technology and like your phones and stuff is also not good for your circadian rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of throws your timing off is the whole thing is
Yeah.
that like if you can focus not just on time but like timing, you can really like optimize your energy,
Mm-hmm.
like your subjective experience of life. Like it's easy to feel happier and more positive and to talk to other people and be open.
Yeah.
Just by like leveraging the fact that like your body is designed to go to sleep with the sun
With the
and
sun.
wake up with
Yeah.
the sun.
No, that's smart. That's smart.
Yeah, it's just a different aspect of time that
Mm-hmm.
as a human being, which we all are, it's leverageable. I would say it's usable. It's not just this like spiritual thing to like think about as a grandma or as a scientist. It's everybody.
It's practical.
It's
anybody.
practical.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like common sense almost kind of thing. But as a 20-year-old, your body probably can do whatever you want to do
right now.
right?
But I there are some times, snippets of time where it's like, okay, I can probably do this right now, but I 5 years from now, 10 years from now, definitely not happening.
Yeah, you'll be forced to think about it a little bit.
Yeah, which I don't take advantage of. I think if I'm very, if I need to stay up, if I, something like that, I'm very, I only do it when it's worth it. When it's when it's something that's like, okay, I definitely need to do like my words on this, writing on this. So
true.
But it's maybe like every now and then. Before it was like, okay,
all the time.
just stay up whenever,
Yeah, I think for me it was like 23 or 24 where I like noticed my body just could not process like alcohol the same way.
Yeah.
And so like I realized I had to like change my like like how I spent the nighttime really. Like I had to sleep earlier if I had anything to do with the next morning,
Mm-hmm.
and just be way more disciplined because like just my circadian rhythm, my body was demanding that I like act in a different way
Mm-hmm.
and just treat it much better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was kind of the direction I was going with it.
Mm-hmm.
What ways do you think, or do you hope you could better use time in the future? Yeah, we'll just go with that. How do you like hope to better use time?
I think just getting better on the timing, how you said,
Mm-hmm.
and I think trying out these different methods and figuring out my values, a little bit more.
What are some of those values?
So those values, work, family,
Mm-hmm.
health, spirituality.
Yeah.
I think just off the top of my head, it gets a little bit more specific, but
Mm-hmm.
those are some of the main ones. And once they kind of get more organized, and I can I think they're always changing.
Yep.
Not constantly,
Yeah,
but they're changing.
over time.
But I think once I kind of see what methods work for me, I think timing is something that that you said that it's like getting better at timing and how to use time to your advantage.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely vital, especially when you have your values kind of laid out for you, or you know what they are to some degree at the moment. If you want to live by those values, you really do have to use time well, because you have 24 hours in a day, and work takes time, family takes time, friends takes time,
Yeah.
health takes time. So you got to fit all of those in there.
Mm-hmm.
You need to sleep every day. So yeah, it's just like this interplay between like spirituality and like logic and like just practicality.
Yeah.
And I think just opening that perspective up to people.
Yeah, you just get better and better, and
Mm-hmm.
personally in your own life, it gets more organized.
Yep. Yep. And you get closer and closer to becoming the person you want to be and moving in the direction you want to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah. Thank you for giving me your time today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I got my book on Amazon. It's called A Gratitude for Time, Understanding Your
Just grab it.
Relationships with Your Time. You can check that out on Amazon. Yep. Thank you. It's pretty easy read. It's very short, big letters, 1 page per chapter kind of thing. So
It's my next one on the list.
Yep. Anything you need to plug?
Yeah. Actually,
Might as well.
All right. I mean, yeah.
You're better at it than I am,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
so I'm on social media on Instagram, Ulysses Garcia 13. Go follow me on there, and then also follow my podcast as well, Full Circle podcast on. Full Circle Show on Instagram as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank you again, man.
Yeah. Thank you, man.